The day I ripped open that $5,000 electric bill stuffed in my mailbox by the HOA, I knew they'd just ignited a war with the absolute wrong guy. An electrician who'd spent 3 decades tracing every rogue current in this town. My hands, rough and scarred from countless jobs wiring homes just like the ones in our pristine suburb, shook not from fear, but from a fury that burned hotter than an overloaded fuse. This wasn't just about money. It was about stealing from my daughter Ella's future. Every penny I'd scraped together for her college dreams now threatened by these bureaucratic thieves at Oak Ridge Hills. Let me set the scene properly, because this story deserves the full picture. It was a crisp autumn morning in Oak Ridge Hills, the kind where the leaves crunch under your work boots and the air smells faintly of wood smoke from distant chimneys. I'd just pulled into my driveway after a long night shift fixing a commercial panel downtown, my truck still humming with the residue of electrical tape and solder. The neighborhood looked like a postcard, rows of identical colonial-style houses with lawns mowed to surgical precision, white picket fences gleaming under the sun, and that ever-present sense of enforced perfection that came with living under the thumb of the Homeowners Association. But beneath the surface, it was rotting, like bad wiring, hidden behind fresh drywall. My name is Ethan Cole, a third-generation electrician. My grandpa started the trade back in the Dust Bowl days, teaching my dad the ropes, and Dad passed it to me when I was barely out of high school. I fixed everything from flickering porch lights to full industrial setups, but nothing prepared me for the personal hell that started 3 years ago when I lost my wife Grace in a freak highway collision. She was the light of our lives, pun intended, since I'm the one who actually wires the bulbs. The insurance payout was hefty, but it felt tainted, like cursed treasure. Grace had always dreamed big for our girl Ella, wanting her to chase opportunities we never had. So, at her graveside, amid the heavy scent of lilies and freshly turned earth, I vowed to make it happen. That's what brought us to Oak Ridge Hills, a gated community promising safety, top schools, and elevated living standards for a cool $180 a month in dues. At first, it seemed ideal. The houses were solid, mine a modest split level with a decent garage workshop where I could tinker on side projects. Ella, then 17, could bury herself in AP classes without the distractions of our old rundown apartment. Barbecues wafted smoky aromas on weekends, kids laughed in the streets, and it felt like we'd clawed our way to stability. But then came Isabella Thorne, the HOA president, a woman who embodied every stereotype of a power-hungry busybody, amplified by a law degree and a wardrobe of starched blouses. Picture her, mid-50s, driving a sleek black Mercedes with plates reading Rule 1, striding around with a clipboard like it was Excalibur. She measured hedges with calipers, issued citations for bird feeders that were one shade off approved beige, and turned good morning into an interrogation. I tried to fly under the radar, paid my dues on time, mowed weekly, even volunteered to fix the community pool's lighting for free. But my first slip-up? Installing a simple Ring camera after a spate of garage break-ins nearby. It was basic security, nothing flashy, but Isabella slapped me with a $150 fine for unauthorized architectural alteration. I dug into the 900-page covenant binder. Yeah, I read it cover to cover, because that's what you do when you're used to poring over electrical codes. And sure enough, security systems were explicitly permitted. So, I marched over to her sprawling Tudor mansion, the one with the fountain gurgling in the driveway, hoping for a rational chat. Standing in her echoing foyer, the air thick with lavender potpourri masking something sharper, like desperation, I realized rationality wasn't on the menu. Board discretion overrides, she snapped, arms folded, eyeing my dusty boots like they'd defiled sacred ground. That kicked off the harassment campaign. Weekly violations for nonsense like my driveway gravel being unevenly distributed, or my recycling bin visible for 30 seconds too long. Each hit came with $150 plus administrative fees, turning my budget from tight to strangling. Ella's face would crumple every time another envelope arrived, her worries about college scholarships mounting like unpaid bills. But the real bombshell dropped on a rainy Tuesday, the kind where thunder rumbles like a warning. A process server showed up at dawn, just as Ella was microwaving oatmeal in our cozy kitchen, the smell of cinnamon clashing with the dread in the air. The envelope screamed cease and desist in crimson ink, demanding $5,247 for accumulated electrical overages and violations, with a lien threat if unpaid in 10 days. Through the window, I spotted Isabella peering from her porch, smirking over her porcelain mug like a villain in a bad movie. My electrician's instincts screamed foul play. Bills don't spike like that without tampering. Drawing on lessons from my apprenticeship, where Dad drilled into me that power doesn't lie, people do. I hit the county records office. The place reeked of dusty ledgers and stale coffee, but buried in the filings was gold. The HOA's recent utility surcharge policy hadn't been properly voted on or noticed, violating state law requiring 60-day alerts and majority approval. Digging deeper into clubhouse records, the usage had ballooned 340%, impossible for a spot hosting bridge games and yoga classes. I called Luis Vargas, my trade school pal turned utility inspector. We bonded over burnt circuits and bad jokes back in the day. I'd even upgraded his home panel last year as a favor. We met under cover of night in the community park, flashlights cutting through the humid dark, the buzz of cicadas. Our soundtrack. Behind the clubhouse's manicured bushes, we uncovered the smoking gun, shoddy jumper wires bypassing meters, siphoning power to an external load. It was hazardous, exposed connections that could spark fires, and the meter had been doctored to inflate readings. This is felony-level fraud, Luis muttered, snapping photos. Someone's running a power-hungry operation on the neighborhood's dime. Puzzle pieces clicked. Isabella's hobby, glass-blowing studio I'd glimpsed in her garage. The online ads for her artisanal vases fired in high-heat ovens. Those kills guzzled electricity like factories, and we'd been footing the bill. An anonymous text buzzed, "Pay or lose it all. 9 days." I grinned in the shadows. This was her mistake, handing me the blueprint to her undoing. Petty dictators like Isabella never grasped that cornering an expert doesn't yield submission. It unleashes expertise-fueled revenge. The counterattack began subtly, like tracing a hidden short circuit. Isabella ramped up first. A city inspector named Gary Novak showed at my door mid-morning, clipboard in hand, looking apologetic. Complaints about commercial ops in a residential zone, he said, sweat beading despite the AC. Ella overheard from the living room, her SAT books forgotten, eyes wide with fear. The complaints? Forged signatures. From neighbors Margaret Ellis, vacationing in Arizona, and Victor Hale, bedridden post-knee surgery. Isabella materialized at my fence like a summoned specter, demanding a thorough inspection. We toured my garage workshop, tidy shelves of tools, standard 220-volt setup for my drills, legal as apple pie for home use. Gary tested everything, declaring it code-compliant. Isabella's face twisted like faulty wiring under load. She pivoted to insurance voids, but I'd researched that too. Home workshops are covered unless you're mass-producing. As Gary left with a clean report, I saw her desperation crack open. Time to go offensive. I pulled historical utility data from Luis, spanning 2 years, anomalies screaming theft. Emboldened, I visited Walter Hayes ***, a founding resident whose wife Olivia had kept HOA archives before her untimely stroke. Walter's kitchen table became our war room, piled with ledgers showing $127,000 siphoned to Thorn Artisans, LLC. Isabella ***'s side gig. Fake invoices for phantom repairs, vacations billed as leadership seminars. Olivia's notes even captured photos of illicit power lines snaking from the clubhouse to Isabella's property, dated just before her death. She confronted Isabella. Walter whispered, voice cracking. Next day, the stroke hit. Coincidence. With paralegal Mrs. Rivera joining, we categorized embezzlement, power piracy, forged elections, her presidency from a non-existent vote during a holiday blackout. Ella digitized it all, uncovering Isabella's Etsy empire raking $200,000 on stolen juice. We planned a showdown at the next HOA assembly. Isabella fought dirty, slashed my truck tires, caught on my illegal camera, bogus bankruptcy filing to shield assets, even a $10,000 bribe attempt on Walter. Her TV interview? A disaster, flaunting her kills while denying commerce. FBI sniffed the fraud post-filing, freezing her world. The climax unfolded in the packed auditorium of Oak Ridge Hills Community Hall, lights buzzing like charged air before a storm. 300 residents, media crews, a Fed agent in back, tension thick as fog. We projected evidence. Bank trails, hazardous wires, forged docs. Isabella erupted. I elevated this place. But confessed under pressure. Theft, forgeries, all of it. She signed restitution, $216,000 back. Resigned, faced charges. 6 months on, Oak Ridge Hills blooms anew. Margaret leads. Transparently, Ella thrives in engineering school on a fraud victim scholarship. I teach workshops on spotting scams, business booming. Our tale went viral, sparking reforms statewide. Yet, as I visit Grace's grave, watching Ella design solar grids, I ponder, was exposing her enough? Or do HOAs breed inevitable corruption? Should we abolish them to prevent future tyrants? What say you? Was justice truly served, or did Isabella get off lightly? Share your HOA nightmares. Right to fight back, or overkill? Debate community power. Who holds the real switch? Your stories could ignite change. Comment below.